This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Home but helpless, a frustrating way for your Milwaukee Brewers to begin a season-long homestand, a extremely, very frustrating loss to the San Diego Padres in Game 1 of the three-game series at American Family Field, falling 2-0. The Brewers now 34-30 on the season. Lots to get to. Chad Patrick continues to be a problem for opposing offenses. That's something positive to look forward into in a Brewers loss. We'll discuss how much I enjoy watching him. The offense, as we have mentioned, just 4 hits on tonight's game. We'll discuss that. And don't fall into the trap. Another message for your Milwaukee Brewers on the program. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Snide, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers Postcast edition. Lots to get to tonight. You can follow me over on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day, especially this program. I do not take it for granted. So thank you very much. You can follow more of my work over at WTMJ.com, covering all of your Wisconsin sports teams. Let's get to the scoring summary tonight. And the Brewers, they lose 2-0 to the San Diego Padres. Your scoring summary tonight brought to you by FanDuel. Not a whole lot to get into when it comes to the scoring summary. Luis Reyes out in the third inning. He would single to left field. That would score 1 run for the San Diego Padres. And that would be up until that 8th inning. Manny Machado, who continues to get rained on with boos from the Milwaukee Brewers home crowd. He would silence them back into their seats. 8th inning blast there to left field, just making it itself over the wall. That would be it. A 2-0 loss for your Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to all of that, including the turning point and my simple message for your Milwaukee Brewers. And it is a loss. It's not the end of the world. The Brewers are going to have another opportunity again tomorrow night. But I have a simple message for this team. I mentioned that already. And there was also 2 more good things that happened outside of Chad Patrick for your Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to all of that as well. You heard the scoring summary there, again, brought to you by FanDuel. Not much to discuss in the scoring summary, and a 2-0 loss. The Brewers had a chance. They had multiple chances in this game. 1 for 10 this evening with runners in scoring position. Ladies and gentlemen, how many times have you and I sat here and discussed when this Brewers team, really for any team for that matter, takes those chances and takes those opportunities and turns those chances into runs? It is a different outcome, especially with a team that's built around starting pitching. Chad Patrick tonight, who, if there's anybody to feel bad for tonight outside of yourselves for watching the Milwaukee Brewers lose a home game, in a very winnable game, feel bad for Chad Patrick this evening, right? We talk about this Brewers offense not taking advantage of those early opportunities. How about Chad Patrick going out on the mound? He's now 3 for 5 on his season. His ERA is below 3. He has the best ERA amongst rookie pitchers. He might be, outside of Logan Henderson, who, again, hasn't made as many starts, probably is your best pitcher. 3 for 5 on the season, 6 innings pitched this evening, allowed just 4 hits in the 1 earned run. In the 1 earned run, 3 soft, infield grounders that made their way out. Arias there in the 3rd inning to score the only run that Chad Patrick would surrender on all night. If you're going to feel bad for anybody outside of yourself for watching another pitiful performance from the offense, again, just 4 hits, feel bad for Chad Patrick, who pitched a tremendous game. And I'm not even going to get into what he has done prior to tonight, but tonight he was absolutely fantastic. The Brewers take a loss. They didn't score any runs, but that doesn't mean we can't give the player of the game away.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Chad Patrick, as I have mentioned, all those reasons why he is my player of the game this evening. 6 innings pitched, those 4 hits, just that 1 earned run. He was doing literally everything outside of, at the plate, but apparently neither were the Brewers. After the 6th inning, which was his final inning pitched, he's trying to pump up the crowd after striking out Xander Bogaerts there to end the inning and kind of get some juice back into the building for this Brewers offense, who failed him this evening and just could not get anything going. 1 for 10, once again, as I had mentioned, with runners in scoring position. And the Brewers tonight, we had talked about it, when they're just a completely different team when they have that situational baseball and that situational hitting. And I don't want to necessarily say clutch, but there are moments where you have to be clutch. And tonight they failed in a specific spot. I'm going to talk about that right now in your turning point in a 2-0 loss to the San Diego Padres at American Family Field.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Probably one of the best opportunities this Brewers offense had this evening. They had a few, obviously 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. He left 10 on base. I will say this, though. The 7th inning, I thought there might be a chance. Churio's on base. Christian Yelich. Here's one of the good news that I was telling you about, that there's a few outside of Chad Patrick. Christian Yelich, 12-game hit streak living on. He had an infield single. That would move Churio to third base. Yelich and Churio on the corners. There were 2 outs. You felt like if there was an opportunity for this team to kind of at least tie the game, at this point it would have tied the game. This would have been it with William Contreras at the plate. And I know there's 2 outs. And how many times, though, you don't just walk and wake up and find yourself with a silver slugger sitting on your mantle. Have we seen William Contreras deliver for this Milwaukee Brewers team this year? Absolutely last year. The opportunity was there for him to tie the ball game. I think this game is a different ball game with a tie ball game going into that 8th inning. But he failed to connect. He struck out. That would kind of end any juice that the Brewers had going, any juice inside that building at American Family Field, as the Brewers lose to the Padres 2-0. Now 34-30 on the season, 18-11 at American Family Field. And this does begin a season-long stretch at American Family Field. This is not the way I think Pat Murphy and company wanted things to begin, but we did see, where they began that road trip out there in Philly, things, they started that road trip right. Let's see if they can get it going tomorrow. There's a lot, obviously riding on this part of the schedule. As we had talked about, you have Philly, you got the Atlanta coming in, who's not playing great. And then you got the Cardinals, and then you go on the road against the Chicago Cubs. So this is a pivotal point in this team's schedule. We'll see if they can bounce back tomorrow, but there's still tons more to get to on tonight's show. Don't want to look too far ahead, including all of your thoughts and comments. So if you're on the live stream, number 1, thank you. Number 2, if you got a comment, you got a thought, a question, concern, drop it in the chat. We'll get to all of that, all of your thoughts coming up right after this. The Milwaukee Brewers are falling tonight to the San Diego Padres 2-0. They don't score any runs, but how does $200 in your pocket sound from FanDuel? That's right. The NBA playoffs are in full swing every night, delivering highlight-worthy performances, unless you want the Pacers to lose, which I am in that boat, and that didn't happen last night. Major momentum shifts. If you want the Pacers to win, you're happy with that. And those can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy for you to stay in the game before tip-off and during the game with player props, performance trends, and those same game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I mentioned the $200. If you're new to FanDuel, right now, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If your first $5 bet hits, I mentioned the $200. If that first $5 bet hits, you get $200 in bonus bets. That's right. Place that first $5 bet. I don't know if I would bet on the Brewers offense right now, maybe tomorrow, but definitely wouldn't have done it tonight. If that bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. It's super easy. Head to FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Once again, that is FanDuel.com. A tough one for your Milwaukee Brewers, an offensive dud tonight, opening the season-long homestand, a 2-0 loss to the Padres, now 34-30 on the season. Lots of reaction. We begin with our everydayer, Nick. Situational baseball. Who needs it? Just frustrating. It's very frustrating. And you felt really good. And we didn't have a post-game show after game 3 against the Reds. We had that loss. And our message after the game, I think collectively, we all said, man, that loss, it's frustrating. TJ Friedel robbing Jake Bauers of what could have been a tying 2-run home run, but don't let that linger. Bounce right back. And boy, did they ever. A 9-1 win in Cincy. Everybody had a home run. Daz Cameron, Isaac Collins, Jackson Troy. You felt good coming back home, right? A phenomenal road trip. You couldn't have drawn it up really any better. An off day on Thursday, kind of reset, recharge, and then you open up a really good series against a really good team. The Padres now 10 games over 500, but they were at 9 games before this game. So a team that has been playing good, and you knew it was going to be a good test for this Milwaukee Brewers team, and they had nothing. There was no juice, there was no energy for a Friday night. Just didn't have it going. 1 for 10, as I mentioned ad nauseum, with runners in scoring position, 10 guys left on base for your Milwaukee Brewers. The good side, the positive side, I guess, is the Christian Yelich hitting streak lives on, if that's something you're paying attention to. Jacob, another part of our everyday crew, that was just a frustrating loss. It's not really another way to sum it up. It extremely was. The opportunities were there. Mike Schilt, the manager for the Padres, dipped into that bullpen relatively early. You thought, okay, we have opportunities, and the Brewers just couldn't cash them in. Jordan over on YouTube, where did the Brewers bats go? I think they lost them. It's possible they left them in Cincinnati. It certainly feels that way. Again, beating the Reds at 9-1. I don't know about you, but I felt good coming into this series, especially at what I had seen my Milwaukee Brewers team kind of bounce back and to become the team that we kind of all were waiting for all of April, all of May, and getting started out in June, playing good baseball and returning home. You hopefully with some of that energy but it just didn't see it tonight, outside of Chad Patrick trying to get the guys going. Just didn't see it offensively today. Just nothing going for your Milwaukee Brewers. 4 hits. Again, Chad Patrick taking the loss tonight for your Milwaukee Brewers. A very, very, I think if anybody's going to be more frustrated than you and I, it's going to be Chad Patrick, who, as you guys know, if you're new to the program, I absolutely love Chad Patrick. He has simply become my favorite pitcher to watch for this Milwaukee Brewers team, and for the reasons that I've kind of given you at the beginning of the show. He leads the MLB rookies in ERA, 2.84 after tonight. 6 innings pitched, just the 1 earned run. I thought he was absolutely fantastic once again. But if you go look at his box score, his record, you're just like, 3 for 5, moving on to the next guy. You feel bad for that guy who continues to be absolutely fantastic on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers, but isn't getting any run support whatsoever. Ben over on YouTube, 100% of teams lose when scoring 0 runs. Bingo. That's absolutely accurate. And I think what's ultra frustrating for this team is that we just haven't seen this out of this Brewers team certainly over the 8-game win streak. But even in that game where they lost to the Reds, it wasn't a high scoring game. They lost 4-2, but there were moments where they had that situational bat going, and tonight they just failed. And especially at home, especially after an off day on Thursday, and you're back home at American Family Field, I just didn't see, there was just no juice. There was no energy. There was nothing going on. It felt like this team had just returned and played a doubleheader the night before. And it was really frustrating. Drum over on YouTube. Suarez from the Diamondbacks is a player the Brewers need. If it's a bat and it's an upgrade, sign me up. If that's Suarez, if that's you, Drum, if that's Taylor on YouTube, if it's Nick over on YouTube, hey, if it's a bat, we need it. I'll take it. 4 hits for your Milwaukee Brewers, a 2-0 loss to the San Diego Padres, now 34-30 on the season. Kep over on YouTube. Sorry for the rant about Mark, but it's getting to a point where I'm tired of constantly hearing, quote, smallest market in MLB coming from our owner and still refusing to do anything to change it. It's funny you bring that up. And I saw some other of your comments, Kep, over on YouTube. And Mark Antanasio did a in-game interview, which I thought was very strange. Not doing the interview. He does it consistently throughout every season and a few times during the season. But he did kind of go out of his way to talk about how the Brewers are now the smallest market in MLB and how they, are trying to rise above and still compete. And it felt like indirectly, or maybe for him directly, he was trying to like kind of paint an excuse for this team and for the failures, certainly amongst the fans that we have been talking about when it comes to going out and getting a bat. And Drum has talked about over there on YouTube, trying to go out and get a guy maybe like Suarez. It was odd. And it wasn't even presented by the television broadcast to be answered that way. It was very odd for him to kind of make that comment. I didn't appreciate it. We know where this, we know, I mean, nothing's changed, but who cares? You have the core. We had talked about this. William Contreras, Bryce Terrain, Garrett Mitchell when he's healthy, Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio. Like, their core's there. Don't let the quote unquote smallest market thing get in the way of trying to make an excuse for why you're not going out and upgrading your team, especially after a guy like Willy Adames leaves, and rightfully so for the contract that he signed, and you don't do anything to fix it. And now you're seeing that happen to this team right now, and I understand, the implications. Drums over on YouTube saying San Diego is a small market and still spends. Their TV deal is better, but I understand. And that's the frustration. The frustrating thing with fans is we don't care. We just don't. We're in the ballparks, Mark. We're packing them. We're buying the gear. We're buying the patches and the hats and the U hoodies that cost $70 that we got at American Family Field. And we're coming out and we're supporting, whether it's April and it's 50 degrees outside, the parking lots are full. We don't want to hear that. We want to compete. We want to win. The playoffs are now the standard in Milwaukee, Mark. Whether you're the smallest market or not, it doesn't matter. We don't want to hear it. It's not an excuse for not doing anything to improve your roster. And tonight, we can point to that because they lost. Now, we may not have pointed to it when they were on an 8-game win streak and won, 9 out of their last 10. But tonight, it's a frustrating 2-0 loss to the San Diego Padres where they just could not get anything going offensively. Greg over on YouTube, Brewers are always bargain bin shopping, but they always have the fans in the seats. We're loyal. I mean, quick story, real quick. I served in the military for a long time. I lived in many different states. And this is going to sound like a biased take because I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan and I'm a Wisconsin sports fan. Every state I went to, if that team wasn't performing or, wasn't in the conversation for a playoff spot or didn't have a premier player on their roster, they weren't going to the games. You didn't see anybody walking down the street with a hat on supporting their team if they were having a bad year. You see it here. You see it all the time. The buildup for the Milwaukee Brewers season every single year. People taking off of work. We don't, and look at this year, for example. They didn't do anything this year. Jose Quintana was your biggest, acquired piece, in the offseason, and it was very, very late. Still had a sellout crowd on opening day. You still had, season, guys, people waiting in line for those season tickets. This is a very loyal fan base. And if you're Mark, my message to you is don't take advantage of that and just try to chalk up being a small market as to why you can't go out and improve your roster for the fans that deserve it the most. They deserve it. Jeff over on YouTube, don't the Brewers have a shortstop in the minors? Ortiz is killing this lineup. Felt bad for Ortiz. There was a moment it turned out to be a foul ball, but it felt like it was there for him. I thought it was going to go fair. It would have been huge for the Brewers to get going. He continues to struggle. 176 batting average, now 0 for 2 this evening. Not good. He was eventually pinched hit by Rhys Hoskins. So it was frustrating. It was frustrating for obviously all season long. It's been frustrating, especially on that left side of the infield. I don't know if those guys, Cooper Pratt, Brock Wilken, are necessarily ready to be coming up now, but I know the patience is going to be wearing thin, certainly amongst Brewers fans, and rightfully so, on the left side of that infield when Caleb Durbin 0 for 4 tonight, and we mentioned Joey Ortiz 0 for 2 this evening. So just nothing going offensively at all for your Milwaukee Brewers, including that left side of the infield for the smallest team in the MLB as they lose 2-0 to another small market team. Would you look at that, by a final score of 2-0. The Brewers now 34-30 on the season. My thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers your first listen each and every day. Thank you for being a loyal Milwaukee Brewers fan. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, you can get all of our content wherever you get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, all the good stuff. And also right here over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Brewers. Hit that subscribe button. If you would do me a favor, hit that like button. I did mention real quick before I forget, that there were some other good things that this Brewers team did tonight. We mentioned the Christian Yelich, and I'd be remiss if I left this program this evening and didn't mention how much I enjoyed watching Aaron Ashby pitch this evening. Third time he's been on the mound since he was activated from the IL back on May 27th. 3 strikeouts, 3 batters, 3 strikeouts for an Ashby. We'll end the show on a positive note. Aaron Ashby looked good. We'll see if the Brewers can fix themselves tomorrow. First pitch, 6:35 against the San Diego Padres over at American Family Field. And I will be with you following the last out. Hopefully the Brewers get us a win. As always, win, lose, or draw. Tough one for your Brewers tonight. Lose 2-0. It's always, no matter what, small market, big market, go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone.